Hello everybody, this is Allsport ABP with your one-stop news and views on the sporting world, and my focus is definitely on the Bangladesh sports. And the biggest news that came around in the last couple of days is that the Bangladesh Cricket Board, the previous board, has been dismantled by the National Sports Council and a new ad hoc committee has been formed led by Tamim Iqbal. So Aminul Islam Bulbul's era as the Bangladesh Cricket Board's president and his team is over. And Tamim Iqbal is leading now the new ad hoc committee that will last for 3 months, and their main agenda would be to hold a fair and square election that will bring about another new Bangladesh Cricket Board that will administer the entire cricketing aspects of the Bangladesh cricket for the next 4 years. So how did this all come about? That is a big question. And why did it suddenly escalate to a point where the previous board had to be dismantled? I'm sure you've gone through all the news and you've gone through all the opinion pieces as well regarding the situation. But what happened in general, just in a nutshell, is that the National Sports Council has declared the previous Bangladesh Cricket Board illegal because the elections that was held that brought about that board had some irregularities. There was a probe committee formed by the government to look into the previous elections of the Bangladesh Cricket Board, where they found some engineering happening and some anomalies that happened during the e-voting system. And of course there were a few other issues regarding the councillorship issues as well, where there were instances that they found where the government was directly influencing those aspects. So overall, I think what happened is that Aminul Islam Bulbul's board has been dismantled and a new ad hoc committee has been formed, Tamim Iqbal at the head. So he was actually, interestingly, one of those who wanted to participate in the previous Bangladesh Cricket Board elections, but later on backed out. And he cited that the elections wouldn't be fair and square, which is why he wasn't very happy about it. And since the new board came up with Aminul Islam Bulbul at the helm, they were facing a lot of problems. And especially the biggest problem that they faced probably was the unhappy cricketers. The first division cricketers, the Premier League cricketers, the cricketers who are professionally involved in the Bangladesh circuits, they were not happy with the board's activities and what the board was doing at the moment. And the biggest hit came for the current board is that they were not able to get Bangladesh into the T20 World Cup. And that came due to a situation where the Bangladesh Cricket Board had to agree with the government's decision of not sending Bangladesh to India, citing reasons of security. And that thing, of course, escalated from the situation where the BCCI announced that Mustafizur Rahman has to be taken out from the KKR squad even before the IPL began. And that actually sparked all this controversy. And what we saw before the 12th of February, which is a very important date because that was when the Bangladesh national elections happened, the previous interim government, under their tenure, the relationship between India and Bangladesh wasn't in a good space. And that was further escalated by Bangladesh government's decision not to send Bangladesh team for the T20I World Cup. Bangladesh were demanding a separate venue somewhere in Sri Lanka or somewhere else, but ICC felt it was too late to make that change and Bangladesh had to be replaced by Scotland. So it's in the first time in the history of Bangladesh cricket that Bangladesh qualified for an ICC event but were not able to participate due to the resistance from the Bangladesh government not allowing them to go and play in a place where they found there were security issues. And actually that was a very populist decision because the general people of Bangladesh felt at that time that yes, it was the right decision to make. It's not fair to bring players to a place where safety security would be an issue. But of course there were other diplomatic ways to resolve those issues which I think fell apart due to the rift between India and Bangladesh in terms of general political situation. But after the new government came in, the BNP-led government that came in after 12th February, the situation is turning and turning pretty quickly. India has agreed to come to Bangladesh in September and play their bilateral series that was in a limbo during the previous government's tenure. And of course, now if you look at the situation, Bangladesh Cricket Board are trying to mend the situation with the Indian Cricket Board and ICC as well. And this new ad hoc committee, I think, will give a lot of gifts out to the players who weren't very happy that they weren't able to go to the World Cup, that the Dhaka Premier Division Cricket League isn't happening, the clubs are not happy, the players are not happy. And now this ad hoc committee led by Tamim Iqbal has been laser focused on bringing the smiles back to the players, which is a great thing, because we need cricket to be going back to the ground. We need cricket to be having its regular activities, of course. But the big problem here is, if only the cricketers and the clubs are happy, will it still be enough for a sustainable growth and development in Bangladesh cricket? Because the biggest stakeholder, according to me, are the fans. And if the fans have taken away their interest from this game, what else can the BCB do to actually bring them back? And I think that is the biggest challenge of this ad hoc committee. Yes, of course, the main agenda of the ad hoc committee here is to be here for 3 months and have a fair and square election later on. And the new cricket board that will be formed after 3 months will be actually taking over the reins of the activities for the next 4 years. But these 3 months are very critical, because if you look at this entire calendar year for Bangladesh in terms of cricket, they've got so many big assignments coming their way. For the Bangladesh men's team, they've got New Zealand series coming up, they've got Pakistan tests coming up, they have a series against Australia where they're going to be playing in Australia after a lot of years, after 23 years if I'm not wrong. And then they have a series with South Africa, an away series there. They have India to play at home. So out of the 5 biggest teams in world cricket, Bangladesh will be facing 4 of them in the form of New Zealand, South Africa, India and Australia in this particular year. So in terms of cricketing action, it's a very, very important year for Bangladesh and for their success, for them to do well. And there can't be a bigger incentive than Bangladesh playing all these big teams for the crowd and for the general people, the cricket-loving people of the country. But why do I have a feeling that they still are not very happy with how the situation panned out? It's mostly because I think over the last 1.5 years, certain things surfaced on the top where, there gradually a gap between the players and the interest of the crowd grew, and there were a few narratives behind it as well. The players were actually deemed to be not supportive of the board and not supportive of the decisions that they were making, and that actually agitated the crowd and the general public as well. So they felt that the players were looking only for their own stuff. They only wanted them to be safeguarded rather than thinking about overall Bangladesh's pride and whatnot. But I think that the situation should be mended as soon as possible, and that is the main responsibility of this new ad hoc committee that is formed under the Bangladesh Cricket Board. Will have to look into these things. And I think at the moment here, the biggest challenge that they face is to bring the crowd back to their TV screens, bring the crowd back to watching games at the stadium and supporting the Bangladesh cricket team. And how can that happen? That can happen through quite a few mediums. They can actually hype up the upcoming series that is coming up against New Zealand. They can lower the ticket prices so that people are encouraged to go and play. They can put in some good incentives for the crowd to go and watch the games so that they feel that they're involved in this as well. And of course, an important aspect would be the selection of the Bangladesh squads, because here the general public also have an opinion. For example, they want some new players to be coming into the side to be tested out before the 2027 ICC World Cup, and also for the T20 side, I think they actually want quite a few new players that have been doing well in the domestic circuit recently. So if the selection board, if they could pick up a good squad, a squad that has that kind of a balance, that kind of a future-looking prospect about it, I think the crowd will be encouraged by the positive moves that are being taken from the Bangladesh Cricket Board. So let's see what happens in the end. I mean, it's an interesting time for Bangladesh cricket, and I'll be giving out more as we move on. Let's see what actually happens in the days coming forward. Do smash the like button, do comment on what your opinions are regarding Bangladesh cricket at the moment, and as fans, what do you feel can be done by the Bangladesh Cricket Board to get you guys back to watching and loving the game that you always loved for so many years that has gone by? Subscribe to All Sport APP English and watch out for the next video.